They were people caught between some of the most powerful forces of the 20th century, Russians who left their homeland for the Chinese city of Harbin. For decades it was home to a vibrant Russian community. Its people were moulded by extraordinary times. The Russian Revolution, Japanese occupation and finally China's Communist Revolution. Many Harbiners, as they called themselves, ended up fleeing to the safety of Australia, where they began their lives anew. But this year, a group of Harbiners returned to pay homage to their former city. John Taylor reports.
Earlier this year, a group of Australians returned to an unlikely birthplace, China. And one place in particular, a tiny enclave of Russia on Chinese soil, a city called Harbin.
No, most people haven't heard of Harbin. But it was a dynamic society that survived.
Harbin's European history dates back to the late 1800s, when Tsarist Russia built a railway link through Chinese territory to the port city of Vladivostok.
My family arrived into China back in 1895. My grandfather, he was a butcher.
After the Russian Revolution, it became a haven for refugees. For a time, this remote part of China was home to more Russians than any other city outside their homeland.
My father was born, and when he was 5 years old, they had to move away because of the revolution. And so they went through the ice parade, it's called, through the Siberia, and communists attacked them, and they moved away, and eventually they came to China, but there was only less than 10% made it.
Many decades have passed since these people walked these streets. But in places it still feels and looks Russian, which is what they hoped. For decades, this was a thriving place of sophistication, with a rich cultural life and its own schools and universities.
It had the vigour of a society that was made up of exiles and different cultures who met. And they had to survive through the years, a lot of pressure on them.
The reunion was captured on film by documentary maker Larry Zetlin. He was also born in China to Harbiners before coming to Australia as a child.
It was different. And growing up as a child in Brisbane, that's what I felt, that somehow Harbin was different.
For the documentary maker, the reunion was the perfect opportunity to highlight a group of people caught at the crossroads of colonialism, communism and nationalism. After the Russian Revolution, Harbiners endured Japanese occupation and then liberation by Soviet troops at the end of World War II.
KGB was working very well, and they took about 11,000 people from Harbin and took them back to Russia, to Siberia. And I've been told my father was shot about 3 months later.
Soon the Chinese communists won control of China. Under Chairman Mao, Harbiners were forced out.
Because everybody who worked somewhere had to train a Chinese person in his place and lost the job. So we could stay in Harbin, but we couldn't survive in Harbin. There's no work for us.
So you've got a highly educated small community who highly valued education, who are musical, who are theatrical, very interested in theatre, in writing. And as they spread from Harbin to the rest of the world, they took those skills with them. And a lot of Hollywood, for instance, if you dug deeper, you'd find that they were Russian Jews from Harbin.
Many also moved to Australia. It was the time of Menzies, and what they encountered was a world away from home.
I remember only my grandfather, when we were coming in taxi from a ship or a dock in Woolloomooloo, he said, I remember his sentence, "Where did you bring me? To the end of the earth?"
And as far as food was concerned, I think there was only Devon sausage and sliced bread.
Many of those who returned on this trip were teenagers when they left. Now, in their older years, they're trying to understand and reconnect with their past.
I'm here first time ever, and I can't find any of my relatives that are buried here.
It's just, I haven't felt this emotional ever, I don't think. It's such a long way from home.
The reunion culminated in a ball, just like those held in the community in the old days. It's a celebration of an unlikely and unique heritage.
As we call it, Harbiners, all people from Harbin are their own people. There's no such other people in the world.
John Taylor with that report.